started, I was in a panic about an hour ago. My microphone wasn't working. I rebooted the whole system.
Oh dear.
I'm trying to find everything. But it looks like we're off to a good start.
The tutoring thing is getting interesting.
Yeah.
Apparently, Principal Thomas is required to have all of her volunteers be vetted by Ricky Frazier.
Mm-hmm.
Ricky Frazier is a middle manager somewhere in the city school district. I've met him before,
Yeah,
maybe
same
4 or
here.
5 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I have to have my tutors vetted by him, and I need to have a meeting with Principal Thomas before I start down that rocky road, because I don't know that I have tutors who are interested in being in the presence of unvaccinated children.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's going
A
to be
lot of
tough.
my tutors are older. Some of them are of childbearing age, have little kids themselves. And it's not as simple as having Ricky read their resumes and tell me whether or not he thinks they're okay,
Mm-hmm.
or whatever vetting process he subscribes to. But I've asked in each of my last two communications with Ms. Thomas for a meeting, and she doesn't respond to that part of my message. So
Yeah, I don't know.
she tells me that she looks forward to meeting with me, but she doesn't indicate if and when that might happen. So
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll. I don't know if she's going to join us or not. That all the teachers and principals are
yeah,
busy as blazes right now.
I'll go with whatever their protocols are.
Sure.
It's just that they need to understand that it isn't just as simple as unlocking the door and the tutors are all going to rush in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I know that Ricky. We were involved with Ricky a few years back there when we were trying to get tutors into School 44. And another person, Phyllis Anita Moss. You've met Phyllis, right? She's been talking with a lot of the principals, so hopefully.
Yeah, I've met Phyllis, and she's really very endearing, a very savvy person. I think she has had more experiences than she's sharing with us up to this point. But she's had 3 boys in the city school system.
Oh, yes.
And
Hello.
Hello, Phyllis. How you
hello,
doing?
Phyllis.
Hi.
Let's see, and we've got Avril Little. It's 6 o'clock. Lee was just saying he's having trouble connecting one-on-one with Eva Thomas. You've been talking with her, haven't you? Have you been talking with Eva about getting volunteers, Phyllis?
Not since school started. I think she's got her hands a little busy
yeah.
right now
I'm
with
sure.
the walkers, probably.
Well, and this, honestly, John, we're not going to be tutoring anybody until probably the end of October, even in a perfect world, because they haven't yet identified, they haven't had an opportunity yet to identify the kids who are going to need tutoring.
Right.
I mean, face it, they haven't seen these kids face to face in 13 months.
13 or 18?
18,
Yeah.
I guess.
We'll try again, April.
I think her need for volunteers right now is more related to helping with the walking.
Yeah. And that's not really something that we're able to support at this point. As important as it is, I can't have consulting engineers during their work days walking kids to school.
Right. But we can put something out and ask the community to help, though.
I would think you could, and certainly, I mean, I don't have any tutors that know the neighborhood. Seems to me that there might be some folks in the neighborhood who not only know where the streets are, but be sort of predisposed wanting to help.
Okay, I just put a message in the chat. I had emailed Mike Schmidt earlier today because some of the folks are looking to do something to recognize the bus drivers, and maybe this is the Rotary that's looking at doing that. And so I sent him a note asking, how are things going with the buses? Do you have any news for us? And he says that things have improved tremendously since the first day of school, but there's still much work to be done. Priority has been to secure transportation for all students with disabilities, return transportation to students who lost it at the beginning of the school year, and continue to consolidate routes to create more flexibility in the system. And then he thanks all the people who have been helping out, bringing kids to and from school, and so it looks like they're making progress with the transportation, but you can read it at your leisure in the chat there. So that's hopefully is going to be something that we can all benefit from, that things are looking better. Let's see, we're 5 minutes into it. Eleanor is going to be late because she had some minor surgery, and she said if she didn't make it, she'd transcribe this from the video. And why don't I see, everybody here knows everybody. Emerald, I think you know everybody here, right? Okay, well, we'll wait till we have some unknowns here before we go and do the rounds. Anybody have any quick updates with the news from the schools, other than who's getting sued by whom and why? Have you come across any interesting news in your travels, Phyllis?
I have not.
You have not, okay. Yeah, I haven't, other than reading a lot of things that have been coming from Dan Dermessage. I haven't learned too much new, other than where, the Rotary is trying to, as I said earlier, trying to do something with recognizing the bus drivers, and they were talking about perhaps delivering donuts and coffee, and they were talking about doing it at their where they go to pick up the bus, and I don't know how many do we have more than one bus line working for the Rochester City School District, Lee? Do you know?
More than one bus line?
Yeah, the
I
yellow
don't have a
buses.
clue. But there's about 5 Rotary clubs in and around in Rochester.
Hmm.
So I would be interested to know which Rotary club
This was the
is going to take donuts to the bus garage.
this is the Rotary Southwest, which Eleanor is part of. Joe
Okay, the
Bobino.
one in, okay, the Rochester Southwest
Yeah,
Rotary. But there's also a Southeast, and there's an AM, and there's a Northwest, and then there's the
yeah.
large 300 and some people Rochester Rotary Club.
Hmm.
So
Now, this was the Southwest that was talking about doing that, and I don't know, is it one bus center that we have for the yellow buses, or are there several around town? Does anybody have a feel? That's one of the things I emailed Mike Schmidt to find out, but he didn't answer that question.
No, I think there's more than one. There's like Monroe and there's First Student. There's a couple different bus lines
Yeah, that was my impression,
involved.
and I don't know how.
well, and I saw a new bus name today that I'd never seen before, and I'm sorry I don't remember it now, but it was a company that yellow buses, black letters,
Hmm.
but I had never seen the name before.
Yeah, yeah, it was my impression that there was more than one, but I would think that the district is probably contracting with more than one, but I guess I'll have to check into that further. Um, have you been involved in any of the walking buses yet, Phyllis?
I haven't. I got an interesting email from Karen yesterday or the day before yesterday. I guess School 17 is also looking for volunteers
Yeah,
to participate in that.
I was interested in seeing that. I saw that note from her, and because they had local busing last year, and they lost it earlier this year, and I'm not sure. Apparently, somebody said the money was, well, it was, I think, Lovely Warren, when we spoke to her a while back, when she was talking with principal over there and just got booted the central office recently. She was on the phone when we talked with Lovely that first time, and apparently the money that went into doing the local busing there was some grant, I think, from some organization that was paying for the local busing. But and I think from what Lovely was saying, that's why it stopped, because the grant was not there this year. But I'll have to find out exactly what happened there. Yeah, I haven't talked to the new person in charge there. Do you remember who it is, Phyllis? I don't know if Karen mentioned it in her note, because they've got a new principal at 17. Oh,
Yeah,
we got some new faces and new names to learn.
she doesn't give the name of the, well, she said she just got off the phone with Lysel. So that must be the first name. She doesn't give the last name. Well, I don't know. That could be somebody else too, though. But
Yeah.
she doesn't give the principal's name, no.
Okay.
I do have a list from the district that lists all the principals, all the site directors and all that, but it's not up to date.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's the thing that's always tricky with looking at either the city site or whatever. it's hard to say whether things are up to date or not. And Wilson Foundation Academy, which I'm on the CET team there, and it looks like from what I heard that the principal has been switched there also. So I was talking with the person who's handling or emailing back and forth with the person who does the CET teams. But I don't think I've gotten all the information for the first Zoom meeting we'll have with that group. And I don't think I've gotten anything from the other schools either. So right now they're probably very busy trying to take care of this transportation mess they're starting off the year with. And so I haven't gotten a chance to talk, and I'm surprised Joe's not here because he's usually attending our meetings. And was Joe at the 19th Ward meeting? Phyllis, do you remember? Joe Baldino? Was he at the... Yeah? Okay, good. Yeah, because some of the back and forth, he's on the Rotary, Southwest Rotary, and with all the emails that were bouncing back and forth about recognizing the bus drivers, I didn't see him jump into the discussion, so he must have been busy with a lot of things.
Mute myself. I responded to Karen's email. And my question to her, and I think you were copied in, is since 17 and 10 and 19 all need volunteers. I don't know if you were in the meeting with Dan a couple of weeks ago.
Dan Dermot.
And I think you were. Yeah. And I brought up the fact that 10 and 19 needed volunteers, and he invited us to send something in writing that he could send out to his mailing list, because he said he had 600 people on his mailing list. Right. So my suggestion to Karen would be, instead of just asking for 17, that we put something out asking for volunteers for the walking bus volunteers for 17 and 10, and also for retired, well, maybe not the reading teachers, because he suggested something else for that. But I suggested that we put something out for both schools. Mm-hmm. And that she said she could put something in the newsletter. We could send something to Dan, put it on Facebook, whatever. But it just seems like that's the priority right now.
Now, have you talked with any of the folks at 16?
I have not. I did get a response from the principal welcoming me. Mm-hmm. And she said the site manager will be in contact with me, but I haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything from Robert Burns, I guess is his name. Yeah, we need to try to get a little bit more involved there, because I haven't seen as much outreach to the community from that school. They've been strapped for people, perhaps, I'm not sure, but it's one that would be good to keep on top of, so that we make sure we don't miss anything. I don't think they had too many CT team meetings last time, and last year, I should say, but so, yeah, I'm going to have to connect with some of the folks that set up the CT team meetings to see if they've got them lined up yet or not. But because a lot of times I'll hear that, oh, they're going to be on such and such a day of the month, and I put it in, and then when I go looking, there's a CET team meeting there, but there's no information on the Zoom link. I did hear from lovely Warren's assistant there, Simon, and she sent a nice little note saying she wasn't going to be able to make it today. I did get in touch with Malik Evans, and he was tied up with something else today. He had his administrative assistant, he said he was going to have his administrative assistant set up, because I also chair the Southwest Common Council, and we really need to try to get a good connection with the city for the coming years with the council. So I asked him for a one-on-one to go over some of the Southwest Common Council issues and also the Southwest Common Council Education Committee issues. So they were going to set up a one-on-one Zoom, and he also asked when are the next meetings for October, and he was going to try to join us then. But since we always have them on the same day at the same time, hopefully he's not at a standard repeating meeting that's going to conflict all the time. But anyways, it'll be interesting talking with him. I worked with him a lot when he was on school board, and he was, a good person to work with. I had good vibes, and every time I see him somewhere, he asks me how I'm doing, and I think at some point he lived in the 19th Ward or was quite familiar with it, so I don't know where he's living these days. Haven't heard anything relative to the child safety zones, which would have been something that we would have heard from Lovely and her folks, and I haven't tried getting a hold of the superintendent yet, especially after last weekend. You got all this new flack about her getting sued, and figured I'd let that die for a week before I called her up. Usually I have been more active at trying to get a hold of the superintendent, but this year the coalition, the Rochester Coalition for Public Education, has had her come in a couple of times, I think, and we got to chat a bit at those meetings, but depending on how things go with the suit here, I'm just going to have to try to connect and see if she can talk a bit. So that's about all I've got as far as child safety zones. Certainly there's I don't know, it's one of the things that it would have been nice to have Malik here and get a feel for what his philosophy and interests are, because I'm sure a lot of people that I've talked with, there were some folks at the Delegates Council and a few other meetings that I've been to where they're saying, well, gee whiz, we walk to school, why are you looking to do local busing, especially right now that they're having trouble getting bus drivers. But of course, if we had local busing, it would be pretty easy to do walking school buses at this time of year where the weather is still good and you can get volunteers to help the kids around if they're all within comfortable walking distance of the school. But I don't know if what you've been hearing from Dan Dermessage, Phyllis. Seems like they're spending a lot of time looking at the race forum issues, which is good, trying to make sure that people are aware of some of the racial issues that are going on in the country and in Rochester, and getting people more aware of those issues, which some of us I was kind of going along the last 30 years thinking that things were getting better, and now I look at what's been going on the last 10 years or so, and I just feel kind of overwhelmed that things really, we didn't hear from all the racist and white supremacists because they hadn't been urged out of the woodwork by some of the more recent from the Trump administration's appealing to precisely that sort of individual. So there's a lot to be done, and one thing I was at a meeting about 3-4 weeks ago of it was Lachey Harris, one of our city council members, who was having a meeting, a public safety meeting, and they had that over at the Flint Street Center. And one of the big things that we've got right now is that all the anti-police sentiment that's been floating around has certainly put a lot of police officers are retiring if they can, because they're feeling a bit picked on. And if you're a good officer that's worked for 20 years and now the atmosphere is getting nasty, I guess it's quite understandable. And they're having a big difficulty in recruiting new officers. So it's going to be interesting to see how things work out. It would be nice to, some of the officers that were at that meeting, one of them who is now the new head of the offices that are at the Southwest Neighborhood Service Center at towards Brooks and Genesee there. He's been coaching basketball. I forgot I think it was a basketball game for some of the city schools for past 15 years. So some of these officers have a really close interaction with the kids, and it has to be they're tough for them to see some of the crazy stuff that also goes on with just a few officers who give a lot of good officers a bad name. But and they were lamenting the fact that getting recruits right now is extremely difficult, and it's also extremely difficult to get black and brown recruits, which they of course would like to get. But on top of everything else, the system we have in many cases has put some of those people who would be very good at doing this thing, they may have something on their record because of a traffic stop that turned nasty or whatever. So it's a real mess right now in terms of getting black recruits and any recruits. And I can, I worked for 20 years on 20, 30 years on PACTAC, where we'd go out, just looking for, is there something that we should report in terms of nasty activity somewhere or traffic lights that are out or whatever. And some of the last 10 years, some of the things you see, you wish they were a little different than they are. But I wish I had more from the coalition right now. I think they've got a meeting this Friday. If any of you are interested in dropping in, they've got a number of issues that they wanted to go over. And of course, I had to reboot my system today because my microphone wasn't working. And finding everything I'm looking for is not as easy as I would like.
While you're looking for that, can
Yeah.
I jump in?
Sure, please.
What I know, well, the last meeting was really interesting. I forget the gentleman's name that came from the city and did the presentation. And I did get on the Raise website and play around with it.
Mhm.
But it appears that what Dan's group has done is they've gone on and they've found one of the, what do you call them? They did the report, the findings,
Mm-hmm.
and then you can go on the website and sign up to work on one of the recommendations. And then they will put together all the people that signed up to work on a particular recommendation. So it appears that what Dan's group has done is they've decided to work on the recommendation related to finding alternative ways under education, finding alternative ways to test and evaluate our kids. So my thought was that the 19th Ward Community Association Education Committee needs to do the same thing. We need to go through those recommendations, and maybe that's something that we could talk about on Tuesday and decide which of the recommendations we want to work on. And then what they'll do, because what they're trying to do is break down the silos. Everybody's, working in their own silos, and we're not working together. So that's why I muted. Too much noise in my house.
Yeah, things are relatively quiet here. Just as I say that, the dog starts barking. Never fails.
I have three boys and a dog. I'll send some over to your house.
Yeah, I was just looking. The email from Dan. Let me put this in the chat. I just put in it's the agenda that they're going to be following this Friday, and Jamal Bauman. There was a proposed meeting with him and David apparently, and I don't know. I was over at Strong going through some chemo at the beginning of that meeting, so I didn't catch quite everything that was being said. Cephas Archie meeting regarding Ray's recommendations. That was probably the one you're referring to, and they're going to be discussing some feedback on that. Then there's Dan's 831 proposal, starting with identifying critical skills and knowledge students need. They tend to get very into the nuts and bolts of what are the kids supposed to be learning and how much testing should they be going through. And there's also, I haven't gotten a chance to look through the whole video from Peter McWalters. Did any of you get a chance to see that? No? I'll have to dig that up and send you the link for it. Peter McWalters was the superintendent in Rochester in probably in the late 80s and early 90s. I met him when he was Laval's Wilson's assistant for organizing various presentations to the one of the groups that they had going at that time, and he was sharp. I can't believe they lost him. He's been doing extremely well at other schools in New England, and he's moved around a lot in terms of being part of various organizations. Very interesting person. I won't try to locate the link for that one yet, but this is the information for the meeting Friday at 4 o'clock. Yeah, 4 o'clock. Yeah, the Zoom link for that meeting, I just put it in the chat. So if anybody wants to sit in on the meeting that Dan Dermesich puts on, you can zoom into it. I know you're on the list, Phyllis, because you attended one of their meetings, and if you like very interesting emails about all sorts of things, I do recommend you sit in on those meetings once or twice, and then you'll be on their mailing list. You'll have more to read than you probably have time for, but they're really a great group. And let's see, what else did I want to touch on?
Can you confirm the meeting time? So is it?
Yeah, it's
Is it the 8th of October, or are we talking?
the 24th of September. 2 days from now. Yeah.
Okay, that's what I thought you said.
Yeah, it's 4 to 5:30. Howard Mafucci is the person who takes care of the sending out the meeting notices or the Zoom notices. Howard is county legislator, I think from Pittsford or something like that, but his heart is with the city, and he's a good guy. And do I have if you need to call him, I should get. I'll send it out to you in case you want to give him a call and say you're going to stop by, because I think they basically send out to a list of about 80 people, so probably if he's got another one come in than the ones that he sent the notice to, he'll probably let you in without knowing who you are. Walk-in items, did we have anything that anybody wanted to touch on? Haverhill, did you have anything that... Yeah.
I've been out of the loop. I started school, so.
You started school. Where?
So I'm at Warner School School of Education in the Human Development Program.
Ah,
I'm actually working on my PhD, so it's been
fantastic.
sort of a whirlwind starting, but hoping to connect more in the community. And Phyllis, I recognize you, so I don't know if you remember me from Southwest, from the Y. So I seem
You
you
were
are
up.
cute.
You're muted, Phyllis.
I
There.
and then when I'm like, I know her, and then when you started talking, it's like I know her voice. Which
Most people would say, "I know your voice."
which why the one
But on
oh
Thurston,
Thursday.
yes. So you did go back to school because I think you talked to me about that.
yes. So I'm working part time for the first time in my adult life. So I'm working part time as a community-based therapist. So I actually have a majority of youth and families in the Southwest area, and I'm back in school full time.
So are you part time at the Y or?
I'm part time at the Villa, so I'm still with
At
the
the
Villa
Villa.
of Hope
Okay.
and living in a neighborhood. Haven't been connected to the Y since I want to say right at the start of COVID, and then all
Mm-hmm.
the yeah. So, but hoping to get more connected to issues around education. My work is focused on youth and trauma and the impact of environments on resiliency. That's what I hope to study, but I'm trying to make the transition because it's been a whirlwind the last few months and the past 2 years, or just the pandemic. I'm sure everyone can attest to how challenging, and we're all kind of going through it together.
Yes.
You know they did away with that program.
Yeah, unfortunately, I saw that.
That had an effect on my life. I don't know. I'm sure it affected other people as well.
Which program was that?
After school program at the
Uh-huh.
Y.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a good program from what I gather.
Hmm. Well, it was free too.
Mm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, hopefully we will finally have COVID in the rear view mirror one of these days, but I won't hold my breath just yet. Okay, is there anything else that anybody would like to touch on? Lee, do you have anything?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I'm a one-trick pony. I'm just here about tutoring at number 10 school. Um, and I'm sure that's not going to happen in a perfect world, at least until the end of October, because it takes, from my experience, at least that long for the teachers to have identified the kids who are in need of tutoring. And this year, since they haven't been face to face with these kids in a year and a half, it seems to me it's going to maybe even be longer before they identify the kids that are in need of extra attention. So, that said, the next hurdle for me and my tutors is I need to find out what Ricky Frazier wants from me with regard to my tutors and their background information so that he can approve them for entry to number 10 school. So I don't know whether the city school district is going to do background checks on my tutors or if the information that I would provide in the applications that each tutor completes would be sufficient. Basically, it's, name, rank, serial number, and a couple of personal references who I make it a habit to contact in the case of each tutor.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, if you could find out from him I think that one of the things that's a real big opportunity for us right now with the fact that we have gotten into the Zoom world is that potential tutors who wouldn't mind zooming into a computer at the school could easily spend half an hour or an hour listening to a child read or going over some discussion with the kid to really focus attention on a particular student that they get together with once or twice a week. And this could be done in the classroom off to a side so that kids get more attention from individuals, but that the tutors are safe from catching COVID or possibly passing it on.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm sure it'll work out. I'm sure it'll take twice as long as we'd like it to, but we're diligent. We'll make it happen.
Good.
I would think that you probably said this already. This might be a good time to start getting everybody approved while they're, while you're waiting between now and October, whenever they start calling you back. I know I've applied to be a substitute a couple times for city school district, and my application just seems to fall into a dark hole. The last time it was just before they found out that they had this last deficit before our current superintendent. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, actually, the first question as the leader of the tutoring team that I have to ask is I have to ask my tutors, which of you is interested in stepping into a building full of unvaccinated children?
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't do that.
Pardon me?
I wouldn't do that. I think your idea about the Zoom is a better idea.
Well, yeah, exactly. But and for instance, I think Principal Thomas needs to know, do I have any tutors who are willing to come into the building? And if the answer to that is no, then we go to plan B, which is virtual tutoring, which we had some experience with this past spring, and it seemed to work. So, but if I have a half a dozen tutors who are okay with their own immunity to COVID-19 and comfortable with it and don't have our other compromising health issues and that sort of thing, it's always better if it's in person than it is virtual. So,
Yeah.
so we may have both.
Yeah, if Deborah Washington, who is the principal over at School 3, which is now a junior high, back last year before they were fully junior high, I think, they had tutors that were doing online tutoring with the kids, and that seemed to work pretty well with her. I should check with her and see if they're doing that this year, and I don't know if they were having it go through Ricky Frazier then or not. But Deborah, well, you know Deborah from when she was the assistant principal at School 10.
She was vice principal at Cooper.
Yeah, she was
vice principal at number 10 school before she became principal at number 3.
So she's would be a good person for us to touch base with. I gotta give her a call and see when their first meeting is, because they have CET team meetings also. But she's a very interesting person, very dynamic, and she's been fun to watch in action at times. Okay,
Well,
well,
and she's,
right, yes. What'd you say, Lee?
I just said, she's been aware of and supportive of the Engineering Society tutoring team at number 10 school from the beginning.
Yeah, yeah, she was very involved with the CT teams when we had them at 10 before they went up to Marshall.
Just a heads up, I don't think they're particular about people coming into the building at this time, even parents. So that probably is not going to be an issue. And
How do you mean you don't think they're? How do you mean you don't think they're particular?
I
You don't think
don't.
they'll allow it?
I don't know if I would say that. It just seems like they're discouraged. It's not. I don't feel welcome to even go in my own kid's school right now. You know, everybody comes out. I take my kids to school, so there's people standing out in the front receiving the kids. So if you wanted to do it on Zoom, you probably would be fine. At least until those kids are vaccinated.
Yeah.
Well, I expect to have an answer to that in a couple of weeks, but I've asked twice for a meeting with Principal Thomas, and she's apparently too busy to give me a date and a time. So I'm available perpetually. So
Well,
yeah,
you're always welcome
Yeah.
here, Lee.
thank you.
Yeah, have you, do any of you know Robin Detman? Because he was quite active with this group back 5 years ago or so, and I've been trying to get a hold of him just to see, did he survive COVID so far? Because he was, I think he's in his late 60s, but I haven't been able to get through to him. I don't know if you were ever had any meetings with him, Lee.
I've never heard of him.
No.
I'm sorry.
Okay. Yeah, he was one of the folks who helped restructure School 33 and really make it a working school because it was in tough shape. And he did kind of the same sort of thing at 33 that Spezio was doing over at School 17 in terms of making it a community, more of a community school and getting more wraparound services there.
Yeah, I am familiar with School 33, but the person I knew better was the principal
Yeah,
there,
yeah,
who's not, I believe he's retired.
yeah, I think so.
And I also knew the vice principal there. She was the daughter of a friend of mine from Rochester Gas and Electric years ago. So
Okay. All right. Well,
her last name was Arthur, and I can't remember the principal's last name now.
I don't know if I ever. I think I probably met him once, and that was when I ran into Robin. Okay. Well, hopefully we'll have a bit of a better turnout next time, and with a little luck, maybe we can get Malik to join us. So don't hesitate to call if there's anything that we should be touching on, and I'll try to connect with a few of the CET teams and see what's going on at the schools. At least the Melanie over at School 19, and Burns over at 16, and I'll have to look through my notes for some of the other school coordinators, but they're usually pretty good people to talk with. So I'll try to make a touch base with them and see what they have to report from the schools that they're involved with, and we'll be in touch. Hopefully, I'll see some of you at the meeting this Friday, the education, the Rochester Coalition for Public Education. And it's a good group to get familiar with, because there are a lot of individuals who are very involved with education. Some of them are past superintendents, past principals, or current educators, and there are a few that are current parents. So if you care to join them, Lee, I'm sure they'd be happy to see you, and they'll give you a chance to touch base with some people. Do you think you'll be there this Friday, Phyllis?
I'm gonna try. I promised to take my children shopping, so I will try.
Well, good luck, and whichever you do, I look forward to seeing you again.
At least part of it. At least
Yeah.
the first part of it. Yeah.
Yeah, I need to, are we still going for the first Tuesday for the 19th Ward Schools Committee?
Yes, I'll send you an agenda by Tuesday.
Okay, very good. And if, if you've got, because I can put it up on Location 19 calendar of events, and also set up the Zoom meeting for it.
Okay, sounds good.
Alrighty. Well, thank you very much, folks. It's been a pleasure as always.
All right.
Bye-bye.